So Offerpad had their latest earnings call. And sure, the prepared remarks told one story. But the real strategy, the stuff that tells you where the company is actually headed, that all came out in the Q&A with Wall Street. Today, we're going to break down those questions to really understand Offerpad's new playbook.
We're just going to skip the official presentation and jump right into that Q&A session. Why? Well, because that's where the tough questions get asked, right? It's the best way to find out what they're really thinking and planning for the future.
And right away, analysts honed in on the single biggest shift in their strategy, this move to what they're calling an asset-light model. All that means really is finding ways to make money from real estate without having to buy and own all the houses themselves. It's a huge move to lower their risk and the amount of cash they need on hand.
And boom, the very first question, right out of the gate from JP Morgan, cut straight to the heart of it. How are you actually going to grow these new services? I mean, this is the critical question, and the answer basically lays out their entire new game plan.
CEO Bair's answer was surprisingly simple. He said the number one goal, their top priority, is just one word: conversion. It's all about taking every single potential customer that comes to their website and making sure they close a deal, even if it's not the traditional cash offer.
So how do they boost that conversion? Well, option number one is something called Home Pro. This is for the seller who might be hesitant about an instant cash offer. It actually pairs them up with a real estate agent, so they get that classic open market experience, but they stay inside Offerpad's world. Pretty smart.
Next on the menu is Direct Plus. You can think of this like a marketplace. So let's say Offerpad doesn't want to buy a particular house. Maybe it needs a ton of work. Instead of just saying, no thanks, they can connect that seller to a whole network of other big buyers. It expands the options and, again, keeps that customer in their system.
And the third piece of this puzzle is their Renovate service. Now, this is more of a business-to-business thing, and it's growing fast. Basically, Offerpad uses its know-how to manage renovations for big-time property owners. It's a great way for them to generate steady income without having to buy a single property.
What's really fascinating is the whole philosophy here. The CEO made it super clear that it's all about putting the seller in the driver's seat. Their famous cash offer is still the foundation, but by adding all these other paths, they can now serve a much wider range of sellers.
Okay, so we've got the strategy, but analysts always follow the money, right? So the next big question was obvious. How does giving customers more choices actually make the company profitable?
And management didn't beat around the bush. They gave a hard number. The short-term goal, the magic number, is 1,000 transactions every single quarter. They believe that hitting that volume is the key milestone on their path to breaking even.
But here's the catch, and this is really important. It's not just about hitting a raw number. It's about the kind of deals they're doing. To get to that profitable 1,000 transaction mark, they have to completely re-engineer the mix of their business. If you look at where they are right now, about 2/3 of their business is still that traditional cash offer model where they buy the home outright. Only about 1/3 comes from all those new asset-light services we just talked about. The big target is to get that to a perfect 50-50 split. Half cash offers, half asset-light deals. Why? Because that shift makes the whole business way more capital efficient and honestly, a lot more resilient if the housing market gets choppy again. The CFO really just boiled it all down to a two-part plan. Two simple levers they can pull. Lever one, be absolutely ruthless on costs, and they've already cut their operating expenses down to just $12 million a quarter. Lever two, push to shift that business mix towards that 50-50 goal. All right, so that's the what and the why of the plan. But how exactly are they going to pull this off? Well, the Q&A pointed to two huge enablers: brand new tech and new leadership. On the tech front, it's all about AI. They're using stuff like picture recognition to start automating home inspections, which, let's be honest, has always been a slow, manual headache. And the real win here isn't just saving a few bucks, it's speed. This lets them get a final, solid offer to a seller way faster. And to steer this whole operational change, they've brought in a heavy hitter. Chris Carpenter is their new Chief Operating Officer, and his entire resume is basically about transforming big companies, which tells you everything you need to know about their priorities. And the CEO was really direct about this hire. He said it's all about getting ready to grow the company again, but this time learning from the past. The whole point is to do it smarter this time, with more discipline and fresh eyes. So they've got their internal strategy lined up, the tech, the leadership. But what about the big picture? The housing market itself. Naturally, analysts wanted to get their read on that.
And you know, despite a really tough couple of years, management sounded cautiously optimistic. They said they're seeing early signs of the market stabilizing, and they pointed to mortgage rates easing up as something that could really get things moving again.
So let's just wrap this all up. The playbook that Wall Street teased out of them is pretty straightforward when you lay it out. Stay lean and disciplined. Scale up those asset-light services to convert every possible lead. And use tech and new leadership to build a smarter, tougher business, no matter what the market does next.
The plan is on the table, the targets are clear, and the new team is in place. But the big question that's left hanging is, in a real estate world that is changing so fast, is this pivot to a more disciplined, flexible model going to be the winning formula? That's what everyone is going to be watching.